what's the reason why we are doing this? So every year, the MRIC organizes a workshop to mark the World IP Day. And this year, it's specifically on IP and sports. So we are taking this opportunity to bring together all stakeholders who are involved in the sports area. So that means ministries, federations, athletes, sports persons, researchers, students, other departments, everyone teaching, research, everyone who's involved directly or indirectly with the sports arena. Now, to start with, I'll say a big thank you to all our collaborators who have helped us put this program together. In particular, I would like to thank the US Embassy, the US Patent and Trademark Office. Through their help, we've been able to locate speakers. The British Council has been very helpful as well in identifying two of the speakers who are going to be presenting today. And the Australian High Commission, who's also been extremely helpful in identifying a speaker for this session. And of course, we've got the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Sports itself, who's been provided one speaker through Mr. Janu, sports officer from the ministry. So I won't take much of your time. I would now like to request Professor Bahran, the Executive Director of the MRIC, to address the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. Well, we have a protocol indeed in place, and we are waiting for the minister to come in. He will be slightly late, so he has requested me to start the proceedings. He will join us very rapidly. So I'll start by the correct protocol. In fact, Dr. Honorable Kaviraj Sharma Sukon, Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Research. Hopefully the PS as well will join us as well, Mr. Navid Singh Jagmohan Singh. Her Excellency Mrs. Kate Shamley, Australian High Com to Mauritius. Welcome to this IP workshop. Dr. Angacha, our chairperson of the Mauritius Research and Innovation Council. Have also board members and also board committee members of the MRIC. All our invitees, online speakers, and also who are here physically, welcome to you all. Heads of institutions, representatives of the private sector, members of the press, very good morning to you all. It is indeed my pleasure to warmly welcome you to this workshop, which commemorates World Intellectual Property Day 2026 under the theme IP and Sports, Ready, Set, and Innovate. So I extend a very special welcome to our Honorable Minister, who will be joining us shortly as well, to our all distinguished speakers who are joining us, both, as I said, online and in person. We are indeed honored by your presence and participation in today's events. Ladies and gentlemen, sport is indeed a powerful force. We'll see this in a couple of weeks with the World Cup. It promotes health, education, social cohesion, and indeed national pride. It inspires excellence. It unites communities, and indeed it creates opportunities for individuals to realize their full potential. Today, more than ever, sport is also emerging as a major driver of innovation and economic development. Behind every exceptional sporting performance lies a sophisticated ecosystem of ideas, cutting-edge technologies, innovative materials. We have also digital platforms, creative content, and undoubtedly, as you will see in the World Cup, branding strategies. And IP is at the heart of this ecosystem because IP protects and adds value to innovation, thus incentivizing creators and businesses to develop solutions that would enhance performance and also fun experience. Ladies and gentlemen, sport itself has become a global IP-driven industry where value is generated through licensing, sponsorships, broadcasting, and intellectual assets. These mechanisms ensure not only revenue generation, but also the sustainability and growth of sport ecosystems. Coming back to Mauritius, Mauritius is rich in talent. Our athletes, researchers, engineers, entrepreneurs all have the potential to innovate at the highest level. However, the real challenge lies in transforming ideas into market-ready solutions. The MRIC is not only a funding institution, but an innovation partner across the entire value chain, from ideation and prototyping to IP protection, commercialization, and also market access. Through our technology transfer office led by Dr. Gopal, who is in fact the organizer of this event, we support innovators in patent and industrial design protection, technology valuation, licensing and commercialization strategies, and indeed also industry, academia collaboration. Our objective is clear. It is to ensure that innovation does not remain in labs, but translates into tangible economic and societal impact. Sports should not be seen as only mere activities, but an emerging innovation sector. The convergence of sports with digital health, AI, data analytics, wearable technologies, and rehabilitation science presents immense, I would say, opportunities for Mauritius. The country can position itself as a regional testbed for sports technologies adapted to small island development states and to tropical environments, thus creating solutions that are both locally relevant and globally scalable. Recognizing this potential, the MRIC has taken concrete steps. In our latest call for proposal in March 2026, we specifically invited projects under the theme Developing a Sports Innovation Ecosystem. This reflects a strategic commitment to embed sports within the national innovation agenda. However, innovation cannot happen in isolation. We always say that. We need stronger collaboration between universities, research institutions, sports federations, and indeed the private sector. Sports organizations themselves must become active innovation partners, identifying real-world challenges and co-developing solutions in areas such as athlete monitoring, injury prevention, talent identification, event management, and fan engagement. Only through such partnerships can we accelerate the transition from research to impactful solutions. Looking ahead, we must be even more ambitious. Mauritius has already demonstrated excellence in sports at regional and international levels. The next step is indeed to create economic value from sports innovation. One key initiative under consideration is the development of a sports incubator under the MRIC SME incubator scheme. Such an incubator would support sport tech startup, promote commercialization of research, encourage youth entrepreneurship, attract international partnerships and investment, develop exportable sports products and services. This initiative could position Mauritius as a regional hub for sports innovation and entrepreneurship in the Indian Ocean. I would like to welcome the Honorable Minister. I was just concluding. To achieve these partnerships will be essential with ministries, universities, sports federation, the private sector, and international organizations such as WIPO. Ladies and gentlemen, today's theme, Ready, Set, Innovate, is not just a slogan. It is a call to action. We are at an important moment where sport, science, and IP are converging to create new opportunities for growth, innovation, and societal transformation. Let us recognize the true value of intellectual property in sport. Let us invest in innovation and collaboration. Let us empower our researchers, entrepreneurs, and athletes. And lastly, let us position Mauritius as a leader in sports innovation. Let us ensure that we are not only ready, but that we lead with vision, ambition, and purpose. I thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a very productive and inspiring workshop.
Thank you very much, Professor Bauron, for highlighting very specifically the interaction between intellectual property, innovation, and sports, the core elements around that. So I also take this opportunity to thank World Intellectual Property Organization, especially the division of WIPO in Africa, and also the Industrial Property Office of Mauritius in helping us put this program together. So I would now like to invite Dr. Angatia, Chairman of the MRIC, to address you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gopal. The Honorable Dr. Kaviraj Sharma-Suko, Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Research, the Mr. Jagmohan Singh, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, who is not here, Her Excellency, Mrs. Chamley, Australian High Commissioner to Mauritius, Professor Bauron, Executive Director, MRIC, distinguished representative of the World Intellectual Property Organization, the European Patent Office, and our international partner institutions, heads of institutions, representative of private sectors, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a pleasure, as chairman of the MRIC, to welcome you all to this workshop, marking the World International Property Day 2026 under the theme, as mentioned by Professor Baron, IP and sport, ready, set, innovate. Sport has a unique ability to inspire, unite, and challenge us to push beyond perceived limits. Behind every great sporting achievement lies a powerful ecosystem of creativity, innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship. Intellectual property is what protects and enables this innovation ecosystem to flourish. It transforms creativity into value. It encourages investment in new ideas. It allowed innovation to move from the lab, the workshop, or the startup environment to the society and the economy. Sport today are no longer confined to the playing fields. They interact with artificial intelligence, technologies, digital broadcasting, data analytics, branding, sustainability, and the creative industry. This creates tremendous opportunities, particularly for young innovators and emerging economies. The history of sports is also a history of innovation. From the innovative Speedo swimsuit that transformed competitive swimming to the advanced marathon shoes that help athletes push the limits of human endurance, intellectual property has played a critical role in turning ideas into performance. Behind each of these achievements lies not only talent and determination, but also research, engineering, design, material science, and innovation. These developments present exciting opportunities for Mauritius. Why should we not aspire to design, develop, and commercialize innovating sporting products of our own? Our challenge is to create an environment where ideas can be protected, commercialized, and scaled up. In this regard, the MRIC remains committed to strengthening the national innovation ecosystem by fostering stronger collaboration between research institutions, industry, government, entrepreneur, and international partners. Such partnership can accelerate knowledge transfer, strengthen research capacity, and create opportunity for developments of new product, patent, industrial design, and trademarks from Mauritius. Today's workshop reflects precisely this spirit of collaboration. We are particularly honored to welcome distinguished experts and speakers from international organizations and institutions. Your presence today demonstrates the importance of global cooperation in advancing innovation and IP. I'm sure that the discussion today will not only deepen our understanding of IP in the sports sector, but will also inspire new ideas, new partnerships, and new possibilities for Mauritius. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation, much like sport, requires vision, discipline, perseverance, teamwork, and courage. The future belongs to societies that are prepared not only to compete, but also to innovate. So let us therefore continue to promote creativity, reward innovation, and protect intellectual property as we build a more prosperous and resilient Mauritius. I wish you all a fruitful and inspiring workshop. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ngatia. So now we would like to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Kate Chamley, Australian High Commissioner to Mauritius to address you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to acknowledge Dr. the Honourable Soukon, Minister for Tertiary Education, Science and Research, Dr. Angatia, Chairman of the MRIC, Professor Bahuran, Director of the MRIC, Ms. Carol Simpson, Officer in Charge at the Division of Latin America and the Caribbean at the Department of Development Cooperation, Regional and National Development Sector at the World Intellectual Property Organization, representatives from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and esteemed speakers, valued partners, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. A very good morning to you all. It is a pleasure to join you this morning for World Intellectual Property Day and to see such a strong participation from across government, academia, industry, and the international community. I'd like to thank the Mauritius Research and Innovation Council for bringing together this timely conversation of the intersection of intellectual property and sport, a space where innovation, creativity, and economic opportunity come together in very powerful ways, I think. This year's theme, IP and Sports, Ready, Set, Innovate, captures something essential about modern sport. Behind every athlete, every competition, and every moment we celebrate, there is a network of ideas, new technologies, advanced equipment, digital platforms, branding strategies, and broadcast innovations that make sport more competitive, more inclusive, and more connected than ever. As highlighted in today's program, IP plays a central role in enabling these innovations, protecting ideas, supporting investment, and allowing the sports sector to grow and thrive globally. Looking at today's rich agenda, we see this reflected across a wide range of discussions, from technological innovation in sports equipment to patents in aquatic sports to copyright and digital media rights. I'm particularly pleased to note the participation today of Dr. Mohammed Zahir Abbas from Queensland University of Technology, representing Australia in today's program. His expertise in copyright, broadcasting, and digital media rights in sport is essentially relevant as the sector becomes increasingly digitalised and global. This exchange of expertise between Mauritius and Australia and international partners highlights the value of collaboration in building strong, future-ready IP ecosystems. Australia places strong emphasis on IP as a driver of innovation and economic growth, including within the sports sector. We have seen how IP supports the development of sports technology and performance innovations, the growth of sports branding and events, and the expansion of digital broadcasting and fan engagement platforms. Australia is also home to a number of institutions and initiatives working at this intersection, including leading research centres and universities like the Queensland University of Technology, which contribute to legal and policy frameworks for emerging challenges in sport. More importantly, Australia continues to strengthen its IP system to support innovators, entrepreneurs, and creators, ensuring that ideas can be protected, commercialised, and scaled both domestically and internationally. For Mauritius, I think there's a clear opportunity. As a dynamic and outward-looking economy, Mauritius is so well positioned to support sports innovation and entrepreneurship, develop strong IP-backed brands, and leverage digital technologies to expand its reach in global sports markets. Events such as today's workshop are important steps in building that ecosystem, equipping athletes, startups, and institutions with the tools to understand and use IP effectively. Australia stands ready to continue working with Mauritius in this space, whether through knowledge exchange, partnerships in education and research, or collaboration on innovation and digital economy initiatives. As we move through today's discussions, from innovation and patents to the future of sports and digital transformation, I encourage all the participants here today to think about how ideas can be protected, shared, and scaled for impact. Because at its core, IP is not just about protection, it's also about unlocking potential. I wish everybody here today a really productive and engaging workshop, and I look forward to the insights and partnerships that emerge from today's discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So we would now like to invite Dr. the Honorable Kaviraj Sharma Sukon, Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Research, to address the floor.
Her Excellency Ms. Chamberlain, the Permanent Secretary of my ministry, Dr. Angatya, Chairman of MRIC, Professor Bauran, ED of MRIC. I see many heads of institutions, chairpersons in the room. Distinguished guests, good morning. Sometimes we think what IP and sports can do. But those following Premier League, sorry, Excellency, in Mauritius, they follow the UK Premier League more than the Australian one. You must have come across a recent event where one of the managers sent one of his person to take photos and videos of another team with which he was going to play. And this caused a lot of issues because it happened that they saw the person taking the videos and the pictures of the match. I mean, while they were actually on the ground training for the match. So simple things like that, you would realize what the impact can be. Of course, the manager had to pay for it because he sent the person there to watch the opponent team during the training, which is not allowed to do. So indeed, when it comes to IP and sports, I think sports being $1 trillion industry at the same time requires that we protect the rights of people. I can tell you that it's not Mauritius only. I congratulate MRIC for coming up with this workshop, but a number of research has been conducted recently, for example, from Oxford University, to see how AI is going to complicate the things again. Because use of AI in sports is not making things easier for those looking at the copyright. Today, when you look at all the, sometimes we frustrated fans, when we don't get the match live, we tend to go to sites where they're actually mimicking the football. I think you must have seen that, all of you, right? And if you don't pay attention, you might feel that, well, I might be watching the real match, but it is not. So you imagine the situations where we are. And I find that more and more of these sites are coming up. So the real match is playing, you find a number of sites airing the same football match, but they are not the real players. So you will realize that, I'm just taking the example of football, but there are so many different sport activities where we would require that the support from people to ensure that the creativity, the innovation that is happening, whether it is branding, it is fan opinion management, it is everything related to it. It requires that we protect the creativity and innovation that comes up in this field of sport. We are very happy that in Paralympic Games we have been able to do very well. Mauritius is shining, and we would like to congratulate those sports persons from Mauritius who are doing very well and taking, ensuring that the name of Mauritius is high up and the flag of Mauritius rises very high up. But when we talk about IP, I was talking to experts in VFX, those actually showing you that the Spider-Man can jump from buildings of 100 stories high. And this is being done through now the technology of VFX, where every movement being done, which creates the wow effect, is being copyrighted. Same thing in sport. So the MRIC has set up, I'm sure that Professor Bamran must have talked about it, the unit that's going to help people willing to come up with their ideas and want to patent it. Unfortunately, I've been saying that the number of patents being churned out from Mauritius remains extremely low. And we would like people to realize that their work can be patented and their work can have a commercial value. Their work can actually be helpful not only to them but to the country. As you know, Mauritius has been ranked by the Global Innovation Index, again under WIPO, 53rd out of 139 countries. So for us, first in Africa, 6th among the growing economies worldwide, makes us very happy, but makes us also realize that we cannot continue like that. We have to improve. We have to keep on improving. And I think such workshops, I was looking at people who are going to intervene during the day, will help us again realize how important it is to protect what we create, to ensure that whatever we create, if it has a potential commercial value, to seek the right path to reach there to have the patent. I find many researchers as well in the room, legal persons in the room. So I would like them to join hands with the team at MRIC in order to consolidate that unit that is actually helping our researchers. My sincere wish is to see the number of patents coming out of Mauritian innovators and ideas grow. When I see that I was saying that in Parliament, we are, I think, more than 540 times less patent intensive than a country like South Korea, for example, where they are churning out a number of thousands of patents annually. So we would like to encourage people to think about it, right? Because you're doing things differently, you're innovating. And I say to researchers, you do research, you publish, especially in high impact factor journal, and you're very happy because this is what will get you the promotion tomorrow. But don't stop here. Why do you stop here at that impact factor journal publication. Go beyond and see if I can, whatever I have found, whether it can be patented. Whatever I have found, can it be commercialized? Whatever I have found, can it help our different industries, whether it's agriculture, manufacturing, technology, can it help them to improve the way they are doing the things? And this is where our researchers play a critical role. Do research, publish, but I'm inviting you to go one step further. See if you can patent it. See if that work that you are doing can improve the way things are being done in our different economic sectors. Even in sports, we are going to discuss about sports. I don't think we hold any patent, Mauritius holds any patent in the field of sport. May this workshop trigger it so as to prompt people to think about it. We have experts in that field, and I think that this will be a golden opportunity to interact with people dealing with experts in the field, talking about patents, talking about copyrights, intellectual property in the field of sport. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank all of you for your presence and declare this workshop on IP in sports open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Just a small change in the program. We are having a little bit of a difficulty for an online keynote address presenters not yet joined in. What we'll do, we will instead put the video of Dr. Zahir Abbas, who has a presentation on copyright, broadcast, and digital media rights in sports. So we'll play this right now, and we'll see in the meantime we get the connection working through. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm grateful to MRIC for the invitation to speak at the World IP workshop. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands where QGT now stands. I pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I recognize that these lands have always been places of teaching, learning, and research. Let me share my slides. The workshop theme, Ready, Set, Innovate, captures it nicely. Sport is where innovation is tested in public, in real time, under bright lights, and it is where intangible assets, the images, the sounds, the data, the stories, now generate far more value than the ball or the bat. Let me begin with scale, because scale is what drives the legal action. The global sports market, gate receipts, sponsorship, merchandising, and media rights, is a multi-hundred-billion-dollar industry. On one widely used industry measure, global sports market revenues were estimated at roughly $478 billion in 2024, rising to around $507 billion in 2025, and are forecast to reach roughly $635 billion by 2029. Media rights are the fastest growing segment, and in many leagues, they are now the single largest line on the balance sheet. To put that into everyday terms, when Premier League clubs publish their accounts, or when the AFL or NRL negotiate their next rights cycle, we are talking about billions of dollars driven almost entirely by intangible rights. The AFL's 2022 broadcast deal with Seven West Media, Foxtel, and Telstra was reportedly worth 4.5 billion Australian dollars over 7 years from 2025 to 2031. The NRL's rights package announced in December 2021 with Nine, Fox Sports, and Sky New Zealand was valued at more than 2 billion Australian dollars across the 2023 to 2027 seasons. The Premier League's live UK rights for the 2025 to 2026 to 2028-2029 seasons sold to Sky Sports and TNT Sports for around 6.7 billion pounds, with the BBC retaining free-to-air highlights under a separate agreement. These numbers matter for small jurisdictions too. Mauritius is a member of the Berne Convention, a signatory to TRIPS agreement, and has two modern primary IP instruments, the Copyright Act 2014, as amended by the Copyright Amendment Act 2017, which governs copyright and related rights, our main subject today, and the Industrial Property Act 2019, which consolidates patents, trademarks, industrial designs, geographical indications, and related industrial property rights. Mauritius hosted the Indian Ocean Island Games most recently in 2019, with the 11th edition subsequently held in Madagascar in 2023, and the region regularly receives international cricket, football, and athletics events. Mauritian athletes compete at the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, and African Games. Every one of those events generates broadcast, image, and digital rights. Building the capacity to identify, protect, and commercialize those rights is a development question as much as a legal question. As we will see. And producers of phonograms. Second, the creative overlay. Commentary, graphics, opening titles, music, replays, these can attract copyright as literary, musical, artistic, or cinematograph works. Even in FAPL, and QC layer, the Court of Justice of the European Union noted that although the match itself was not protected, the Premier League's opening sequence, its anthem, its pre-recorded highlights, and on-screen graphics were all copyright protected works. Third, compilations and data. Under the EU Database Directive 96/9/EC, databases can attract both copyright and a separate sui generis right. In Football Data Co. and Yahoo, the Court of Justice of the European Union ruled on the copyright tier of the directive, holding that a fixture list attracts copyright only where the selection or arrangement of its contents amounts to the author's own intellectual creation, and that the skill and labor expended in creating the data is not relevant to that test. The separate sui generis right had already been denied by the English courts, applying the 2004 Fixtures, Marketing and British Horse Racing Board decisions. Because compiling the list did not involve substantial investment in obtaining or verifying the data as distinct from creating it. Either way, a high bar for a fixture list. Fourth, photographs. Still images of sporting moments are protected as artistic works owned by the photographer unless assigned. This is why photo agencies invest so heavily in accreditation and contractual access. Australia's principal sources are the Copyright Act 1968 at the Commonwealth level, especially sections 86 to 87 and the infringement provisions from section 101 onward, and the Broadcasting Services Act 1992, again at the Commonwealth level, which regulates broadcasting licenses, and critically for sport, the anti-siphoning regime we will come to shortly. Let me ground all of this in a concrete example. A landmark Australian case, National Rugby League Investments Proprietary Limited and Singtel Optus Proprietary Limited, better known as the TV Now case. Optus launched a cloud service letting its mobile subscribers record free-to-air broadcasts, including AFL and NRL matches, and play them back on their phones with as little as a 2-minute delay. Optus argued that the customer pressing record button was the maker of each recording, which would attract the private and domestic use exception in Section 111 of the Copyright Act. The full federal court disagreed. It held that Optus was the maker, or at least the joint maker, of the recordings. The service architecture, not the subscriber, was doing the copying. The Section 111 defense therefore failed, and Optus was found to have infringed the broadcaster's copyright. Why does this case still matter 14 years later? Because it tells us that cloud and streaming architectures do not automatically inherit user-side exceptions. Sports rights holders won an early decisive battle in what has since become the defining regulatory problem of our era: how to apply 20th century copyright concepts to 21st century platforms. Now, to the commercial side, broadcasting rights are the engine room of modern professional sport. The model is essentially this: a league, federation, or event organizer controls access to the venue and the feed, and it licenses the right to broadcast, stream, clip, and otherwise distribute that feed to media partners, typically on an exclusive territorial basis. Four features deserve emphasis. First, exclusivity. Exclusive licenses drive price because sport is uniquely time sensitive. The value of a live match is overwhelmingly in its liveness. A broadcaster with sole domestic rights can aggregate an audience that no non exclusive deal could match. Second, territoriality. Rights are typically carved up country by country. This is economically rational but legally contested. In FAPL and QC layer, the Court of Justice of the European Union ruled that absolute territorial exclusivity within the EU single market, specifically clauses preventing Greek broadcasters from supplying decoder cards to UK pubs, breached the EU guarantee of free movement of services, with the license clauses conferring absolute territorial protection also held contrary to EU competition law. The decision destabilized the closed territory model in Europe and forced rights holders to rethink carve ups. Third, fragmentation. The old model, one national broadcaster, one season, one check, is gone. Rights are now fragmented across linear television, both free to air and pay, subscription streaming through services like Kayo, Stan, Sport, DAZN, and Paramount Plus, short form clip rights on social platforms, betting and data feeds, fantasy and gaming rights, and international rights, which for many leagues now outstrip domestic income. Fourth, regulatory overlay. Many jurisdictions intervene to protect free access to culturally important events. Australia's anti-siphoning regime is among the world's most developed. Under the Broadcasting Services Act 1992, the minister maintains an anti-siphoning list. Events on that list, including the AFL Grand Final, the Melbourne Cup, and major cricket fixtures, cannot be acquired on an exclusive basis by subscription only services until free to air broadcasters have had the chance to acquire rights. This list was modernized and the scheme extended to online streaming services by the Communications Legislation Amendment, Prominence and Anti-Siphoning Act 2024. The Act also introduced a separate prominence framework for connected televisions. The reformed anti-siphoning scheme, which now sits in Part 10B of the Broadcasting Services Act, commenced on 17 December 2024. Similar regimes exist in the United Kingdom under the Broadcasting Act 1996, which maintains a listed events regime, and across the European Union under Article 14 of the Audiovisual Media Services Directive 2010/13/EU. A few live examples. The AFL's rights deal with Seven, Foxtel, and Telstra, reportedly Australian dollar 4.5 billion over 7 years from 2025 to 2031, bundles free to air, pay, and streaming rights through Kayo. Cricket Australia's rights deal with Salmon and Foxtel, announced in January 2023 and commencing in 2024, was valued at Australian dollar 1.512 billion over 7 years through to 2030-31. Internationally, the International Olympic Committee sells broadcast rights on a continental basis, with long-term deals such as NBC Universal's agreement covering the United States and Warner Brothers Discovery rights across Europe, while African rights have traditionally moved through SuperSport and national public broadcasters. FIFA similarly licenses the World Cup on a national or sub-regional basis, generating a meaningful share of its 4-year cycle revenue from broadcasting. Here is the point for Mauritius. As a small media market, you typically acquire rather than sell rights. That means the key commercial and policy questions are around cost, bundling, and ensuring domestic public access to events of national importance. A well-designed domestic listed events policy is a legitimate regulatory lever and a cost-effective one because it shapes the market without requiring public broadcaster spending to match global prices. Now to the most dynamic area, digital platforms and social media. Every modern sporting event is now shadowed by a second parallel broadcast. Fans in the stadium are at home filming moments on their phones and uploading them to TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, and many other smaller platforms. This user-generated content, or UGC, is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it is free promotion, which travels further and faster than any TV trailer. On the other hand, every unauthorized clip is a potential infringement of the broadcaster's copyright. Rights holders have responded in three main ways. First, notice and take down under safe harbors regimes. In the United States, Section 512 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act 1998 provides a safe harbor for online service providers who meet notice and take down obligations. In the European Union, the picture has shifted dramatically. Article 17 of the Directive on Copyright in the Digital Single Market, Directive EU 2019/790, makes large online content sharing service providers directly liable for user uploaded copyright content unless they obtain licenses or demonstrate best efforts to prevent infringement. In Australia, the Copyrights Act's safe harbor provisions in Part 5, Division 2AA were historically confined to carriage service providers. The 2018 amendments extended the protection to libraries, archives, educational institutions, and cultural bodies. Australia's safe harbor regime remains narrower than the US approach and does not presently extend to major commercial user upload platforms. This gap matters. It means Australian rights holders deal with global platforms through those platforms' own processes, YouTube's Content ID, Meta's Rights Manager, rather than through tailored domestic mechanisms. Second, site blocking. Where pirate streaming sites operate overseas, rights holders seek injunctions requiring local internet service providers to block access to them. In Australia, Section 115A of the Copyright Act, inserted in 2015 and strengthened in 2018, allows the federal court to issue such orders. The leading decision is Roadshow Films Proprietary Limited and Telstra Corporation, the first successful application which blocked a number of overseas piracy sites. Sport-specific applications have followed. Rights holders, including the Premier League and the AFL, have obtained blocking orders against illegal live streaming operations. The United Kingdom has a comparable regime under Section 97A of the Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988. The first sports application, FAPL, and British Sky Broadcasting Limited, blocked the first Raw Sports portal. The template was then refined for real-time, match-by-match live blocking in FAPL and British Telecommunications. Third, direct enforcement and technical measures. Digital rights management, watermarking, automated monitoring, and takedown. Two other digital frontiers deserve attention. The first digital frontier is data scraping and betting. Live match data, ball by ball, player tracking, biometric, is now a distinct commercial asset. Rights holders license official data feeds to betting operators through specialist companies such as Sports Radar, IMG Arena, and Genius Sports. Unauthorized scrapping raises both copyright issues in the database and contractual issues under venue terms. The football data co-litigation was only the start. We can expect more test cases on data rights, especially in connection with AI training. The second digital frontier is second screen and mobile apps. Official league apps now offer live stats, audio, highlights, and increasingly betting integration. These apps aggregate multiple rights, copyright in the feed, database rights in the stats, trademarks in the branding, into a single consumer product. The IP architecture behind them is complex and often case specific. Three emerging issues to flag briefly: AI commentary and synthesized media. Several leagues are piloting AI generated commentary in multiple languages on archive content. This raises copyright questions at two levels. At the input, is training on protected broadcasts a copyright relevant use? The law is in flux globally. At the output, is AI generated commentary itself copyright work? Australia law, following ICE TV and Nine Network and Telstra and phone directories, requires human authorship. Autonomously AI generated text would likely not attract copyright protection in Australia. Non-fungible tokens are NFTs of sporting moments. NBA Top Shot and SoRare demonstrated appetite for tokenized highlights and digital collectibles, although the market peaked in 2021 and cooled sharply thereafter. The legal question is whether the NFT confers any copyright interest. Usually it does not. And what happens if the issuing platform disappears, as some have? Immersive and VR, Meta, Apple, and others are developing immersive sports products. Every new format is a new licensing layer, and rights holders are renegotiating long-term deals to reserve immersive rights explicitly. Let me now turn from the feed to the face, the athlete. Sports IP is not only about the broadcast, it is also about the name, the voice, the gesture, the likeness, and here the legal picture varies dramatically between jurisdictions. Australia has no standalone image right or right of publicity. Instead, athletes protect their commercial personality through a mosaic of doctrines. First, passing off. The classic Australian authority is Henderson and Radio Corporation Proprietary Limited, where professional dancers successfully restrained the unauthorized use of their image on a record cover. The Paul Hogan cases, Hogan and Kuala Dundee and Pacific Dunlop and Hogan, extended the doctrine to character merchandising. Second, Australian consumer law, section 18, the prohibition on misleading or deceptive conduct, which often runs alongside passing off and is often easier to establish. Third, defamation, where unauthorized use falsely imputes endorsement or otherwise discredits. Fourth, trademarks registered over names, nicknames, and signatures. Cricket Australia, for example, maintains trademark registrations over the Ashes and related marks. Fifth, copyright. but only in the photograph itself, which belongs to the photographer, not the athlete. This is why players' associations now routinely negotiate access and image use contracts that grant athletes are their collective rights in official team and event imagery. Contrast the United States, which protects a right of publicity, generally at state level. The Supreme Court recognized a constitutional dimension in Zacchini and Scripps Howard Broadcasting Corporation, a case about a broadcaster airing the entirety of a performer's human cannonball act. More recently, the NCAA's 2021 policy change permitting college athletes to monetize their name, image, and likeness or NIL rights has transformed US college sport. NIL is now a multi-billion dollar market with its own specialist counsel, collectives, and disputes. In the United Kingdom, there is also no stand-alone image right, but passing off through false endorsement has proven decisive. Irvine and Talk Sport Limited confirmed that Formula One driver Eddie Irvine could succeed against a radio station that doctored a photograph to suggest he endorsed it. Fenty and Arcadia Group Brands Limited, the Rihanna t-shirt case, confirmed that unauthorized use of a celebrity's image on merchandise can constitute passing off where it falsely implies endorsement. In civil law systems, France, Germany, most of continental Europe, explicit image rights are recognized, often rooted in constitutional personality and dignity protections. Mauritius, with its civil law heritage grafted onto a common law procedural structure, sits at an interesting crossroads. Your courts and legislature could develop either route. Olympic Rule 40 of the Olympic Charter restricts athletes from allowing their image to be used for advertising by non-Olympic sponsors during a frozen period around the Games. After sustained athlete pressure, the rule has been progressively relaxed from Tokyo 2020 onwards, but it remains a live constraint on athlete commercialization during the Games themselves. Deepfakes are the emerging nightmare. Synthetic videos placing an athlete's face on someone else's body or generating fake endorsements sit at the intersection of copyright in the underlying footage, passing off, consumer protection, and increasingly dedicated deepfake legislation. A practical flashpoint, social media endorsement, the Australian Association of National Advertisers Code of Ethics and ACCC enforcement require that paid endorsements on social media be clearly disclosed. Athletes with large followings are now in effect small media businesses. The disclosure rules follow them wherever they post. For a Mauritian athlete with, say, 500,000 Instagram followers across Africa, the governing rules are not just Mauritian. They are the rules of whatever platform and whichever advertiser regime the post is made under. Let me close with 5 practical pointers for a jurisdiction building or refining its sports IP framework. 5 pointers I would put in front of MRIC and its partner ministries. Number 1, ensure your copyright statute clearly protects broadcasts and audiovisual fixations as distinct subject matter, aligned with the Rome Convention 1961, the WIPO Performances and Phonograms Treaty 1996, and the Beijing Treaty 2012. Without that, every digital rights market sits on sand. Number 2, consider a modern, calibrated safe harbor for online intermediaries. paired with an effective notice and takedown regime. The policy question is not whether to have safe harbors, but how to calibrate them. If too generous, rights holders have no remedy. If too narrow, you suppress platform innovation and legitimate user expression. Number three, equip your courts with site blocking powers. It is now a standard tool in the live sports anti-piracy toolkit across common law jurisdictions. And the evidence suggests it works when focused on dedicated pirate operations. Number four, consider a domestic listed events policy to keep culturally important sport available to the public, particularly as streaming fragments the market. Number five, develop the mosaic of athlete protection doctrines, passing off consumer protection, defamation, trademarks, deepfake specific rules into a coherent whole, or consider a codified image or publicity right. Mauritian athletes compete and are marketed globally. They deserve clear, predictable domestic protection. A final thought, sport is in the middle of the most consequential technology transition in its history. AI generated commentary, immersive broadcast, data driven officiating, synthetic athletes, IP lawyers are no longer on the sidelines. We are on the technical committee helping to decide what is permissible, what is licensable, and what is protected. For Mauritius, a jurisdiction with strong institutions, a diverse legal heritage, and genuine ambition to be a regional hub, this moment is an opportunity. Build the IP architecture now, and the innovation MRIC is seeking will have somewhere solid to land. Thank you for your time and patience. Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm grateful to MRIC for the invitation.
Yes. So we thank Dr. Abbas for his presentation. And again, reiterate that this is done under the auspices of the Australian High Commission in Mauritius that gracefully helped us to get into contact with Dr. Abbas. So thank you very much. We are closing this first part of this function.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me.
Yes. So we would like to have a quick break now, about half an hour tea break. So you're all invited into the lobby that's next door, and we'll be resuming in about half an hour's time. Thank you.